Perfect. Let me just sit down. And you know what I'll do is I'll edit most of the waist down stuff out of it.
Right on.
Yeah, this will be real. This is Joe Rogan levels of professional. Well, hey, it's Elijah. This is Facing Woodland. I've managed to get a city councilman, and we're going to talk for a little bit about our town and what it means. So, care to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Aaron Alderman. I hold currently council seat number 4.
There you go. You got this obviously in a contentious election. That's how you were.
Yes,
put in
there
office.
was 2 vacant seats, and they held actually an application process, and it was almost like a job interview. And I put my application in on the second seat, the last remaining seat, and I had to go through, just like a job, then I had to go through an interview with the board of the council that was there. And there was 5 of us that interviewed for it, and I was lucky enough to be chosen.
There you go. You're running for re-election. 23
Yes,
election.
my seat was actually due to it was up for re-election this cycle in November. So even though that I just got in there, I have to fulfill the responsibility of that seat.
Right.
And so I am running again to keep that seat in November.
So what's the Aaron Alderman pitch? Give me the spiel. Why should our hard votes go to you?
I'm a homegrown boy. I was born and raised here. I did move out for a while, and I lived in Castle Rock and raised my sons there. Then I moved back here.
Traitor. Castle Rock. Can't believe it.
My heart has always been in Woodland. My family moved here in 1966. My parents raised 3 kids here. My roots run super deep. My father played a big role along with helping Danny Balch start the Lewis River Little League here.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so that does go back.
That it goes way back. And I just feel that I think we need somebody with homegrown roots that really loves this town, that's not going to run away from, lack of better terms, a fight for what's best for this town.
It's fair. I remember talking to you a bit at the Lilac Gardens.
Yes, yeah.
I might have misheard, but I think you also have a service record.
Yes, I am. I was in the United States Marine Corps.
You're Double Dog.
Yes, I am.
There you go.
Jarhead.
I know that, and I know Semper Fi.
And Leatherneck, Devil Dog. They are all kinds of names for us Marines.
I know if I get any deeper into terminology, I run the risk of stolen valor territory.
Yeah.
So
I was deployed. I am a combat vet.
No way.
I was deployed to Desert Storm.
Okay.
I spent 7 months over there.
Just kicking ass, apparently.
And it was 6 months of boredom and building things to just a couple of days of action. But I'm glad it went the way it did.
You're back in one piece.
Yes.
Which is what we want.
Absolutely.
We don't want you coming back in a box. It's no bueno situation. Yeah. All right. So we're running for re-election. I know it is an election year for the city council as a whole.
Right.
I'm new to Woodland. I was born in Arizona. That's why my ring is turquoise. I bought my house here 90 days ago. So this little Nest 1776 idea has been around in my head for a couple of years, and I was building it a little in Vancouver before I bought the house.
Right.
So the fact that I bought the house up here, and I've learned to love this community just so fast.
It's an amazing town.
It grows on you.
Yeah, it's already run through my veins. Like I said, I remember this town in what I would say the heyday for me.
Yeah.
Back in the late 70s through the 80s, my high school years. My arm would get tired driving through town waving at people because you knew everybody. And that's the way it was. Just waving at everybody as you went by.
Oh, yeah.
And if somebody needed help,
You help them.
the town stopped and people helped them.
Well, that's, and knowing everybody, waving everybody, that small town feel is kind of like it's the topic of the day. My house is out in Merriweather, and that's a new community.
Right.
And so there's a lot of new communities come up. I've seen some city council meetings about affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
A bit, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a fucking city rat, dude. I am that scum dog mutt. My spirit animal, as much as I want it to be a bear, it's those Russian stray dogs that know how to take the subway. You know,
That's funny.
that's what I identify as. I'm those Russian mutts that take the subway because they get around town. But growth is a big thing. One of the things I was looking up a little bit is I'm trying to figure out the big issues facing us, right? And the big one seems to be traffic, but even more than traffic, it's really just exit 21 everyone's mad about.
Right.
You drive around the rest of the town, the roundabouts up at 22, they're actually nice and solid.
Yeah, they're not bad. The biggest problem is just people knowing how to drive in a roundabout.
And that takes practice.
That's the biggest issue.
Lewis River Road's pretty nice. It's a beautiful drive.
Yeah.
Not
And
a lot of congestion.
The state next year is going to repave, from my understanding, from the roundabout all the way up to the end until it goes out of city limits. Going to repave that, and they're going to put in sidewalks, so we have a sidewalks walking along that, so people can walk. People can walk safely up and down the sides of the Lewis River Road.
Well, North Fork School's up there too, so that sidewalk's going to help.
My grandson actually goes to North Fork.
My son goes to North Fork.
Right on.
I know. I'm in the PTSA. I'm the treasurer.
Right on.
So this is going to make sure that they're not they get funding. Pay attention.
Yeah, please fund them.
But the big thing, so one of the things I found, I was going back, is Exit 21 has been City of Woodland priority since like 2018. It's like 5 years, right? And
it goes back further than that.
Okay, so about how far back does it go that you can talk?
I know of, from my understandings, if I remember dates correctly. Now remember, I'm 52 years old, and my memory's not the best.
You're on the back end.
Right,
Okay.
right. So I do know there was a study that I was told in 2016 about up here, before you get to the exit, either an overpass, or they even talked about tunneling underneath to go to West Scott.
Because we can't touch the overpass as it sits, and we can't touch the highway. That is a federal thing.
Right.
So that's...
Well, see, the issue is, and this is where one of my big issues is, one thing that I'm striving to do is just informing the public.
Okay.
Because there's so much he said, she said, and assumptions out there, people talking. But what it boils down to, the city has no control over that intersection because it is a state highway. The state has absolute total control over that. They say what goes.
Okay.
We can make suggestions. And this has all happened. So I had to get caught up on it myself because this has all taken place before I got appointed.
Right.
And so I had to get caught up on everything. And I got a pretty good grasp of it because I've been asking so many questions. I think people are getting tired of me.
Well, that's what we want, right? That's a good representative.
But as far as I know, I even have a copy of them. There was 2 drafts made up of how to redo that intersection.
So I saw that. As fortune would have it, I don't want to talk too much about the story just because I don't want to drive them mad.
Right.
But I was out with my son. I was talking to somebody about it, and they happened to have been in the know at the time. And so they showed me, like, there was a roundabouts.
Right.
Then there's a light.
Right. They're almost identical, but what they have, one has roundabouts.
Yeah.
And one has lights.
Yes.
Traffic lights. And the city council at that time voted on the lights.
Okay.
But even though the council voted on it, what it comes down to, the state has the final say so. Whatever they say, we have to go on.
So what have they told you guys?
They haven't said anything yet. It's the problem.
Oh, so we're just waiting for those jerks.
We're waiting for them, and we're waiting on the funding. Tracy Coleman is an absolute master with grants and funding and stuff like that.
So for those that don't know, catch us up. Tracy Coleman is
Coleman, she is the head of the roads and the parks, but
Public Works.
Public Works. Yes, thank you.
Oh, I sent an email to her because I was curious about the 22 roundabouts.
Right, and she is amazing. She has done so much for this community with grant and funding and stuff like that. Like when I talked to her when I first got in, she says the people before her made it so easy for her to get grants because they never did. I never even tried. And so now, and she's done so much work with it in this town. Is unbelievable with grants.
Yeah, like one of the things I learned, and I did learn this from talking to Finn, the mayor, is that she's the reason we got the dog because the dog is free. Is my understanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the dog's a grant program.
Right. Absolutely. Bolo is a grant program and donations. And
Okay.
we've also getting donations, I think, because I know one of the meetings I was at, people were asking where can they donate,
Yeah.
because he plays a crucial role in this community.
I think crucial is a strong word. It is a dog.
Well, it all depends, because I've been on the first responder side of
Yeah.
things, because I was a volunteer firefighter for 7 years.
Okay.
At Cowlitz 3 in Tootle.
Right.
And first responders see some pretty ugly stuff.
Oh boy. Yes, there are stories.
And trust me, Bolo plays a crucial part
I will say
in multiple ways.
I will say this about Bolo. My son's got he part of the summer he got bit by a dog, right? So he has this big aversion to them,
Right.
and getting back in connection with dogs is it's going to be a thing for him. He got bit by a big dog. He's 6. He got bit by a
Oh,
Rottie.
that's going to leave a lasting impression.
It's a big deal. He likes Bolo.
Right.
He still likes Bolo. Like
Right.
after he got bit, stitches on his arm. He's out there petting the dog at Planters Day.
Yeah.
So
And that's another thing that what Bolo does too, that I think is crucial. He bridges that gap with the youth, because I want kids to not be afraid of police officers. I want them to know that if they're in need of help,
Yeah.
or if they're scared and they see an officer, that they can go up to him and say, hey, could you help me? And with Bolo, they're around the officers more and get more interaction, and so it eases that apprehension.
and he'll build that bridge. The big, this is a whole we could get into.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't really want to too much, but my big take on it is nationally. There's one problem it's a national problem, and then the other thing is specifically about Woodland, which is Woodland related, hence the podcast. The national issue is, as a country, we're bad at punishing bad cops. We don't do a great job of it. As a city, whatever happens in Ferguson was completely outside of our control.
Right.
And we have to take a concern to at least go, do we have good cops here?
Right.
And if we do, then awesome. That's what I like.
I can honestly tell you, I know Chief Kelly very well. I've known him for 30 plus years, and that was through involvement with Little League. And he was still a state trooper at the time. Some of the other officers I've known for a number of years. One of them I grew up with. He's a year behind me in school. And I can tell you, with that leadership in that department, if there is quote unquote bad cops, they will be handled the correct way.
Well, that's good.
And depending on what you consider bad, I know Jim Kelly, and he's an outstanding chief of police, in my opinion. And I know from experience that he does not, he doesn't handle bullshit.
That's good. That's good to hear. On the police thing, it's just like you hear stories, and it's so easy to see like 30 Facebook posts
Oh yeah,
about all over the country, and then your brain short circuits and you go, oh, this is just how cops are.
right,
They're just like this.
right. No. What really gets me about the posts and people really talking bad about law enforcement, first responders, they will talk bad about them, and they'll just shoot them, kill them, all this stuff. But the first thing when they need help, who they call them? The first thing they're doing is call the cops. It's like, well, you must not hate
You're
them
calling
too bad.
911. Back to 21. One of the things I was curious about, because I've seen in all the debates and all the marketing, all the talk, I haven't really seen this. So my question is, what are the next steps to doing something there?
Okay, what we're doing right now like I said, this is all happening, and I'm trying to, I've only been there for a few months, and I'm learning and I'm picking things up. We are getting the project shovel ready.
Okay.
So whenever the state finally says, oh, well then go ahead. Even though it's their intersection,
Right.
their state highway, we still got to pay for it. And we have to do all these studies.
Yeah.
So they wanted some more studies. Tracy Coleman and the city put in for a grant for, I can't remember the exact amount. I want to say $18 million
Okay.
for the project. And this is the third time, and they've been turned down the first 2 times, and they were almost guaranteed to get it this time.
Well, Biden
And we
cut
got-
that $1 trillion check.
Right.
So
And we got turned down again.
Okay.
So now there's a meeting that they're going to find out why we got turned down this time. Because last time they went to the meeting and they did everything they needed to do with the more studies and everything.
Yeah.
And so they had their hopes up, and they really sounded really super positive about it. And we got turned down again. It was like a shot in the heart. And basically, Tracy and Mayor Finn, they was almost, you look at them, they felt defeated. They've worked so hard at this, because that's everybody's number one right now.
So yeah, and to put that into a bit of perspective, it's like we want it.
Right.
The mayor, city council, we're all ready to go.
Across the board. It doesn't matter who you are. If you agree on anything else or disagree on anything else, the one thing everybody agrees on,
do something.
Do something with that,
right.
so we can fix the traffic issues.
Yeah, look, and to be fair, I'm for a something, right? Like, put a bear statue out there, even if it makes traffic worse. Just go, we did something.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I don't want to make anything worse. We don't need it any worse, trust me.
But okay, so do something. That's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Do we know how much money we need to do it? Because I know that you said we're putting in the grant for 18. Do we have an idea of what it's going to cost us? Or what the project costs, I think is the better way to do
I am sure that people a lot smarter than me have got it down to the dime.
Sure.
But the one thing I do know for sure, the longer it takes to get the okay to do it, with the cost of everything going up, the cost of labor, cost of materials, it's only going to get more and more and more every year.
What's that money word that we all learned last year about why things are more? Inflation.
Inflation.
So if the state, and it is right now on the state to approve or deny this.
Right.
Okay.
But also too, we have to have the funding. Like right now, if they say, okay, go ahead and do it now, we don't have the funding to do it.
Right. And if you're a busybody out there and you want to know how much it costs to do this, go to a meeting. That's what the meetings are
Tracy
for.
Coleman, her door is always open if she's not in a meeting. That's hard to catch her because that woman works.
I will say send her an email. You're not going to get immediate response, but I did get a response. Nice lady.
Yeah, she will get back to you. I call her quite often and ask her questions because, like I said, I've only been in since March.
Right.
And so I am learning more and more every day. And that's what's nice about the heads of our department. If you have questions, call them. We
got the deep state, just unelected, been in there forever.
Right. Call them, and they will if they're busy, they will get back to you.
Gotcha.
And they will answer your questions. So
that's the 21. There's 3 total issues. I know one of them there's kerfuffle around, and so the shop we can't talk about 20 after 4.
Right.
It's not a conspiracy. I mean, I don't know, maybe it is, but right now there's a legal injunction. So it's bigger than you.
Way bigger than me.
Right.
I'm just a small fish.
My understanding of the situation as a whole is effectively the Woodland Municipal Council put a kibosh on that type of business. And
we're not even going to go there.
Okay, can't even do that.
I can't even go there.
Fair point.
You can ask me questions if I would want a pot shop in town.
Well, let's do that.
Or if...
What are your thoughts on the whole bit?
As far as a place selling marijuana and legalized marijuana in city of Woodland, I have taken a little different stance upon this.
Let me take it. Let me hear it.
Because I do believe it will come before us again. Mm-hmm. And if I'm lucky enough to win my re-election, that I'll be there. And what I decided to do, let me jump back. I've been really critical about our state and federal politicians because I don't believe that they listen to their constituents.
Oh, of course they don't.
And I've really been boisterous, very vocal about that.
Yeah.
And so I told my wife and I, she's my backbone.
Right.
And we have lots of great conversations. And I told her after I was chosen, I said, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to do what the people of Woodland want.
Okay.
On this issue, I am leaving my personal opinions out of it.
Okay.
And what I have been doing, I have been talking to as many people as I can.
Okay.
And taking my own poll.
All right. So what's the results of this poll? Where are we at?
That will be revealed when I place my vote, when it comes before us, and when I vote.
Okay.
Because I'm not even close, because it won't even be till November, December, could be January before it's in front of us. And so I went and bought me a spiral 4x4 pad, and I got for and against, and I just put in check marks and counts.
Okay. Without doing a for and count, can you tell me how the spiral pad's looking? Is it one-sided? Is it kind of
Let me just say the mindset of Woodland, I think, has changed than where it was in the past.
I feel that's a very diplomatic way to use your words.
I'm learning. I'm learning. There's a couple people on the council that I love to sit back and listen to them talk, because I learned how to speak publicly.
Yes.
Because in my real life, I'm a logger. I've been raised in the woods. I hunt, I fish, I work in the woods, I play in the woods.
Well, okay, logger, are you lumberjacking or are you driving truck?
I actually load the trucks.
You load them?
Yes, I've started my logging career on the ground with a chainsaw in my hand. I've done every job there is on the ground.
Do you have like a death wish? I mean, because from active combat Marine to logger, these are not safe goals.
Well, maybe let's call it adrenaline junkie. How's that?
That's good. That's good.
I don't want to die, but that's just who I am.
Well, you're getting, hey, look, the upsides for logging is it's a skilled trade that pays well.
Absolutely.
You're out in the woods every day. It's beautiful.
And I see some of the most beautiful sunrises and scenery. And I've been out there since the winter of 1988.
Oh my gosh.
And I still am amazed at some of the sunrises that I get to see.
The preamble for this is a shot I took because I explored an old logging trail. And it took me up to the top of the mountain ridge over by Merwin.
Oh yeah.
And from there, I took it, you'll see it on this. I took video where you can see with the naked eye St. Helens, and I think that's Jefferson, right?
No, you have so up
I
here,
can see Mount St.
we
Helens.
have Rainier.
Yeah.
You have St. Helens.
Yeah.
You have Adams.
Adams.
You have Hood. Then
Jefferson's way down there.
Way down there.
Bend. Okay.
Right.
I drive a lot to Bend, so I'm there.
Right.
So from up there, you can see St. Helens, St. Adams, and Mount Hood.
It's not St. Adams.
Or Mount Adams.
Mount Adams.
Thank you. You can see Mount St. Helens, Mount Adams, Mount Hood, all with the naked eye.
I have actually sat on a landing, and the landing is where we bring the logs and I load the trucks.
Right, right.
I've actually set at one spot, and at this angle right here, see all four of them.
God.
It's amazing.
It's stunning.
I am so fortunate to do what I do. What I do.
You get that for free.
Well,
the people in LA.
My body's paid for it, trust me.
The people in LA pay $40,000, $80,000 a weekend to see that.
Yeah.
You're getting that before lunch.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky.
It's a good town to be in.
It is.
But
like I was saying,
yeah.
Go back. I've sat back and learned from other council members and other people from the public that comes to the meetings and speaks. And I'm learning a lot I've grown a lot since I've been a council member. And that's the one conversation my wife and I had. Like I told her, if I lose the election, it's a win-win for me either way. Because if I win, I get to keep fighting and working for the town that I love with all my heart. But if I lose, I get my life back. But it's also a win because I have grown so much as a person. It's unbelievable.
Well, that was one thing that Deinhardt said that struck me. As I was at a town hall, and he was like, we shouldn't even be paying the elected officials. And that got me thinking on a lot of stuff. But one of the things that you said, you get your life back. How much of a commitment is being city council? What does it take? What are you doing?
It's up to you.
Okay.
It's up to you. What you have to do is you have a meeting every first and third Monday of the month.
And you can go to those and should.
And everybody should come to city council meetings.
Not all of them, but I mean, like, make some time.
Yeah,
He's at most of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm at most of them. but there's also periodically we'll have workshops.
Okay.
Like a Saturday.
Sure.
For 4 hours or something like that, or something that's going to take some more time that we need to work on or stuff like that. We had one this summer. We had kind of a get to know the planning committee.
Oh.
And the council and the planning committee got together and we met each other and we've talked and kind of get on the same page. You know what? For me, it was great for me because I had no idea what they did. Because like I said, this is all new to me. Any kind of, me being in government blows me away as much as it blows the people that knew me when I was a kid away. And I'm learning.
Well, I think it's important because that's the kind of aspect you want, right? That's
to be able to work together.
The whole point of having an elected representative and changing them out, don't just keep voting for the same guys forever, is...
unless you like them.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a point.
Well, I agree with term limits.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
That's fair.
But if you have somebody that's doing such a wonderful job, in your opinion or whoever's opinion, and they're and whatever they're whatever they're in charge of is flourishing, and they're doing such a wonderful job, as long as they want to do that job, I say go.
That's the FDR parallel or paradox conundrum, right? Yeah.
Right.
The Bull Moose Party.
There you go.
I don't hate that. Well, I studied a lot because you hear from the Beltway, these jackasses, you hear them belt on about the founding fathers and what they thought and what they would have thought and how they felt. And then you realize that they all wrote books, and they wrote papers. You can go read it. And it's like, this is what our government is supposed to be. And what I think a lot of people misunderstand about America, I was talking to you about this before, but I do want it to be on camera, is that we the people doesn't just mean the government works for us. It means that we the people are the government.
Right.
It's also of the people.
Absolutely. But I think the big thing that people, I'm not saying people, elected officials are missing.
Yeah.
And this is just totally my opinion. I will not speak for anybody else. I just speak for myself.
Right.
And it's one thing you'll learn about me. If the more you're around me, I speak from the heart.
Yeah.
And I shoot from the hip. And sometimes people like it. Sometimes people don't. Because I'm brutally honest.
Well, overall, it makes you a better person.
But I truly believe that the elected officials have lost reality because they work for us. They work for the common folk. They work for the people, the citizens. We don't work for them.
Yeah. Well, you'd think so. On paper, that's how it works. But in practice, I think the biggest problem is apathy. If you're not out there being involved or being engaged, or, the gripe I have is people who at some point in their life picked a letter, an R or a D, and just said, that's it.
Yep, we're done.
I'm done making choices.
Right.
I have just never thought about it.
Right.
Those are the people that allow, all of that
And I think a lot of it's got to do, and I felt this way for a long time. I'm just one person.
Sure.
I'm not going to change anything. What good is it going to do for me to go say anything?
Right.
But it just falls back onto the old saying, a squeaky wheel gets the grease.
And if you're not squeaking, somebody is.
That's right.
Oh boy. And that's why we have the grant writer tying this all together. She brought us like $1 jillion?
She has brought so many millions of dollars into this town.
That is
with
true.
Projects.
She's amazing.
She is absolutely amazing. She is a bulldog where it comes to fighting for this town.
Finn put up a little chart at Planners Day. I think I snapped a pic of it, but he put up a chart of all the grants that we've won.
Right.
And it adds up.
Right.
And the fact that we have someone going in there and getting that, the thing to really think about it is we're paying state tax, we're paying federal tax. It's going away, and those grants are getting it back. Should it be going away in the first place? Probably
Absolutely not.
Yeah, sure not. Do we need this kind of bell loop rigmarole to get our own money back into our community? No. But
it's the system. It's the system that's put in place that's from way above us.
And I'd rather we have someone to work that, to bring that back here, than to let it go to some community that we have no discussion about.
Right. And
like, it doesn't need to go to Seattle.
Like most of the grants, you have to match a certain percentage of it. But what we're getting back from the money we put in,
Sure.
what we're getting back from it is astronomical. The things we're getting done.
You got a free dog and also some other stuff.
I'm talking to construction outfits like West Scott. And
Well, talk about that a little. What's all the cool stuff that we got with these sweet grants?
oh, you're going to put me on the spot. And
Name a one or two that you said. West Scott.
We're going West Scott.
Okay.
And they're doing more on that. A new because they're replacing the water line out to our industrial area.
Yeah.
Because the one that's in place was probably put in before I was born here.
I heard that we were pulling out wood pipes at one point. I don't know if that's current.
At one point in time, I don't think it was there, but I heard the same thing, that they actually were digging up old pipes that was wire wrapped around wood. And so, yeah, see, the city is growing, and we want to grow more with our industrial park out there. So we have to get that stuff up to code that will handle that. Lakeshore Drive, all that's been done with grant money. There's tons of it. There's numerous other projects that I can't think of on the top of my head because I've been up since I get up at 1:30 in the morning.
Oh my God!
I go to work
6 p.m. It's bedtime.
Oh no, I got time.
But the water conversation does bring us to the last thing, and I want to lay it all out because I've heard conflicting reports and I've heard what I think is some pretty fun stuff.
And I will tell you what I know.
That's perfect. Okay. I have heard, now this all happened before I moved here,
Right.
and definitely before you were city council.
Absolutely.
So, full disclosure, neither of us had anything to do with it.
Nothing to do with it.
We're trying to take care of it now that we're here. Our water bill used to be lower. It is no longer lower. I don't want to name any names or put anybody on spots, but I will say I heard through a source that the reason that people are making that complaint is that when billing was here, there was essentially a cronyism afoot to keep billing low for friends and family. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that it was choking our water department, and so we had to raise rates to help build some of that. How off the mark is all of this?
I think you're off the mark a little bit.
Perfect. I've heard
Okay.
some wrong information.
Like I said, this all took place before me.
Right.
And I will not put my fist down and say this is the absolute truth unless I know for a fact sure.
Right. We're working with...
Right.
Yeah.
I have heard, and if anybody knows the town of Woodland, this is rumor. There's groups of people, and there's lots of assumptions running around,
Yes.
flying around everywhere.
Boy, aren't there.
And I have heard some talk about the friends and family discounts that were going on. I cannot say for sure that was happening, and I cannot say for sure that it wasn't happening.
Sounds like a real friends and family discount receiver statement.
I wasn't living here at the time. I was in Castle Rock.
Again with this.
So,
Castle
but anyways, my understanding, the reason the water bill is high
Right.
is because the councils before us back, it's been, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago,
Sure.
they knew inflation, that big word we talked about earlier, things are going to start costing more and more and more.
Right.
So they pulled a number out of the air and said 7%. So the next so many years, there's going to be a 7% increase.
Oh.
But what the city has done, and everybody hears that and freaks out,
Right.
but what they have done is on the water side, there's going to be a 7% increase, but on the sewer and stuff like that, because that sewer department, the fellow that runs that and the people that work over there have done an absolute wonderful job, and they're actually money ahead.
Okay, good.
So they were able to lower the sewer bill to try to and even that out a little bit. But it's nice now because in the past, you wouldn't see, all you would see is your bill. You didn't see a breakdown. And I know there's people out there really hammering transparency, which I believe in also, but the water bills we're getting now, everything's printed out.
You know,
You can see everything line by line by line of what it is.
What I will put out there, and I can show this, I'll blur out some stuff, is a buddy of mine has a house out in Kelso.
Mm-hmm.
And so when everyone was telling me our water bill was too high, I was like, can you send me your water bill? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. So he sent me his water bill.
Right.
And his is like 3 lines. It's like, here's what you owe for water.
Right.
You used 100.
Yeah.
End of bill.
That's it.
And ours is pretty detailed. I don't know a lot about what it means, but then again, my job isn't public works. So,
Exactly.
it's a learning thing.
Yeah.
Go to the meetings. Please, that's what they're for.
If you don't understand, with your water bills, I'm telling you right now, those 2 young ladies that work at the city office
Could break it down for you.
Those 2 are amazing. What they have done in there is absolute, nothing short of amazing what they do in there. And they will spend whatever time they need to do to help you understand. If you have any questions, they're there.
Okay, so if you were, I don't know, I'm just going to throw this out there. Let's say running for mayor.
Right.
And one of your big pieces was, we don't know the water bill or what's going on. You could, theoretically, email them and get that information.
Right now.
And then if you had a big, I don't know, just say something random, town hall meeting.
Right.
You could explain that to people.
Right. Absolutely.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because if I had a town hall film that I uploaded, that I did, and if that wasn't in there, it would show a lack of follow through by someone who claims to care a lot.
Absolutely. But those young ladies down there, they will help you. At the planning commission, there was some people they were talking, and they were telling stories about people coming in and trying to get permits, building permits,
Right.
and stuff like that. And sometimes, especially for the somewhat older people like myself, it's not real computer savvy. It's kind of tough. And if my IT department at home, my wife, isn't around, I can go right down there, and this has happened. People were doing testimonials how they've helped people. They'll just take their laptop, turn it around, they'll sit right alongside you, and help you right through the absolute whole process.
That's actually good to know.
It's great.
Yeah. For one, now I am a tech savvy guy. You might notice I put a podcast together in a park in 40 minutes.
Right.
I know how to use this guy.
And you're way ahead of me.
But flashy graphics. No, so for me, that kind of stuff's not super challenging, but I do see the generational divide.
Absolutely.
Right? I know that you have a generation that came up where computers were a niche thing, and you either had them or you didn't.
Right.
A generation where you grew up and they just didn't even exist.
Oh, yeah.
That was my mom, and that was me. And then you have the generation after me, which isn't necessarily my kids, but it's the kids like the Zoomers or whatever they're called, and they didn't grow up in a time without it.
Right.
So it's a real big. The technological knowledge gaps are huge.
Oh yeah, you ask anybody that's 18 and below.
Yeah.
Ask them about a TV without a remote.
I don't even know.
I was the remote. I used to lay on the floor and put my hand like that and change the channel for my dad.
I remember not having color TVs. And that being a thing. It was like, whoa, color? Like we had one color TV in the living room.
Right. That was us.
Yeah. And then my mom had a TV in her bedroom, but it was a little black and white guy.
8x8 black and white.
Yeah. You watch the Munsters on
I
it.
Love Lucy with my mom. I Love Lucy was my mom's
And then you
favorite.
think, if I watch this on the color TV, I bet it's in color.
Yeah.
No, it also wasn't in color there.
Right.
But it's a lot's changed. It's cool to know that we have people that'll get you connected with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, those 2 young ladies down there are absolute. I had to go down there myself because I have when I was appointed, when I got the job as a councilman, they gave me a city laptop.
Sure.
That way I can get city emails and stuff like that, and it's secure. Nobody else can get into it, and I got these people actually calling me. Why haven't you answered my email? I've emailed you. And I check it every day when I get home from work. I check all my emails. Sometimes it's 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes I'm there for 2 hours.
See, I bet you don't even know about pop mail forwarding. Exactly. See, that's what I'm saying.
Head's blowing up. But anyways, I'm not receiving any emails.
Okay.
And so I called my IT department, my wife, to come over. And she kind of looking and she goes, you haven't received an email for like a week and a half. And so she gets on and her fingers are flying a mile a minute doing this and that.
Yeah.
She goes, they want you to update this and do that. She goes, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that because that's
City
and
property.
so because she couldn't get into certain things because it's just, she can't.
And I'm on the other side of this fence. I'm here worried about like key logging software, you know?
Yeah. And so she goes, you need to go to your other IT department. And so I went down and seen the girls down there, and I said, help. And she flipped it around, and she's like, "Ooh," and she's talking to me at the same time, and we're asking questions and talking about other stuff going on. And she goes, there you go. What? And yeah, and I was talking to Travis about a couple of questions I had on city codes, and we're all three having a conversation, and she whipped it right out, and they're amazing.
City codes brings me to the last thing that I was asking. This is something, now this isn't a point of contention in the city. It's not something everyone's mad about. It's a thorn in my mind that I'm trying to understand. So I'm hoping that we can get to the right page. I talked a little bit about this. Our city has a city administrator.
Right.
Okay. I don't know how much you can divulge or how much you know. So I will say I found a source online that's probably not great. It's called like govsalaries.com. So, you know, totally reputable. Full of spyware, obviously, right, guys? They said that in 2016,
whatever spyware is.
They said that in 2016, our city administrator was a different guy, made about $100,000 a year. So I'm assuming that's close. I'll say that's within, I don't know, 50%.
Right. Everything's public record. You can go look it up.
I'm not looking in the right place, or I am. Either way.
Right.
But where I'm at is, my understanding is that the city, as we have it, the mayor's job is city administration. So I pulled up a Washington code, and I might have the wrong one because there's like a few different setups, and that's kind of why I'm talking about it. It says, so the mayor, so this is 35A 12100, which I'm sure you know exactly right, and you know all the legal codes, obviously.
Well, anyway, wishful thinking.
Yeah, it says that the mayor shall be the city administrative officer. Boom.
Right.
But we have a city administrator.
Okay. I've asked that question.
Okay. What did they tell you?
There is actually two forms of government.
Gotcha.
Of city government. Our form, the way it's set up, is a city administrator, not a city manager. It's a city administrator.
Yes.
That does the will of the mayor and runs
the city
and takes care of it. Because the mayor's position in the city of Woodland is a part-time job.
It's a ceremonial mostly.
Right. It's a part-time job. He sees the day-to-day operations, but it's a part-time job.
So we're paying a guy $4,000 a month to go to parades.
And the city, well, he does a lot more than that. Trust me. He does a lot.
That's fair.
Yeah. The man works. He works his butt off for the city. But anyways, going back to the city administrator, from my understanding,
yeah,
the city council, the way the government's set up, the city of Woodland government is set up, city council is the one that makes up the codes and stuff like that. The mayor is to implicate them. The city manager pretty much does what he's like the mayor's assistant in layman's terms, the way I understand it.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So that's sort of like,
and trust me, I have our city manager, I'm sure the first 2 months was looking at caller ID and make sure it wasn't me calling again with questions.
Hey, why are we paying you?
No, he's a great guy, and he is full of information. And I tell him, I said, when I call him and he answers, I said, I'm sorry, but it's me again. I have another question. He goes, no, at any time. I told you, at any time you have questions, you call. And if I don't know the answer, I will find out. And there's been a couple questions that he didn't know, and it's taken a couple days, and he's gotten back to me.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, that man does a great job, in my opinion.
Well, then the last thing that I think we talk about is growth as a city. Now, I know I've heard Deinhardt talk about like less dense housing, which I'm going to be real, as a guy whose house under Deinhardt's plan wouldn't exist, it's kind of bummer news to hear. Secondly, I don't know if you know this, but East Woodland is where all of the heavy industrial work is done. It's Portco, I say Anderson Farms? Might be wrong on that. Columbia Valley Fruit.
Right.
Boom.
You mean West Woodland?
West Woodland.
Right.
I'm famously stupid.
No, you just don't know your directions.
Yeah, that's a polite way to say it. This is that diplomacy you're learning.
I'm learning, I tell you.
Yeah, so over in West Woodland, and the thing about those jobs is they typically don't pay great. Now, there's a whole conversation to be had about good paying minimum wage working class.
Right.
But Woodland, doing what it can, has to acknowledge that A, we want people to do those jobs. B, we want our Walmart and our Safeway and our grocery outlet to have friendly people who care.
Right.
And if they're going to live here and work a competitive wage for their environment, which again is kind of outside of Woodland's control,
right,
they should have housing they can live in.
Right.
And they should have space to move into those houses.
Right.
I mean, as much as you want $250,000 half-acre places, or actually with inflation and housing price, we're like $500,000, $750,000 half-acre places now, something like that. I don't know how, $1 million.
The housing thing is a slippery slope.
I mean, what are they kids going to work at the Ace? Like, I don't know.
Right.
My dad drives a Jaguar. Let me go pop a job down at the old Portco.
There is no way if your dad drives a Jaguar that you're going to take a job
in Columbia Valley,
Columbia, or McDonald's or Dairy Queen or something like that.
But you want people to be in those jobs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we want, and I'm huge on that. I'm getting sidetracked with the point I was going to make, but we want to draw businesses here in town so people, the citizens, don't go elsewhere. Because we want their business here in town, because that's what the city lives on, is the sales tax. And so going back to the housing thing, I went and listened to Mr. Dinehart down to Lilac Gardens.
Yeah, I was there too.
Right, and he made a good point, because everybody has talked about the big issue of the Lewisham Apartments,
right,
across from Insel Road. Why don't they force them to do homes instead of apartments? That way they get, say, 5-acre lots, 3-acre lots. That way there's less traffic and stuff like that. It's funny because I asked that question like my third meeting, because we were talking about affordable housing at that point in time. And I said, why can't we just, when we get permits, just say, okay, we'll give it permits, but you have to keep it in this affordable, in this frame, in this range. And he said, we can't do that. You're going to end up in a court, in a lawsuit, because how can you tell somebody what to do with their property? But also too, one of the other council members, we were talking, and in order to get affordable housing, there has to be more of it.
Yes. You have to have a lot of smaller units for them to be affordable.
So then you talk about the apartments. So you have a lot more people that would be able to afford a nice place to live.
Or a reasonable place to live.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I guess what it boils down to is each individual, what would you rather have?
I'd like my house.
What would you rather have? And so so that's a slippery slope. It's kind of like weighing the scale.
Right.
What's going to be better for the town?
Well, frankly, as someone who, my family on my dad's side they're Mexican immigrants.
Right.
It's 2 generations ago. My bloodline was straight up in Oaxaca. Like they were not in America.
Right.
So they came here and they worked on a cabbage farm, probably illegally, had 11 Catholic children, and word on the street that they told me is they built their own house. I don't know how true it is. They lived in a nice house.
Right.
Well, as an 8-year-old, it looked nice.
Right.
Now, my grandpa probably worked hard, and he had 11 kids to help him, so maybe he put it together. Or maybe he didn't. I don't know. He's 80 when I was 10. So it's been, he's been around. I feel deeply for like ag workers, and I get that at Columbia Valley Fruits right there, it is a thing we have to understand is happening. Mm-hmm. Those people don't get paid minimum wage. Like they get paid less, right? And so then you see places like Portco and Walmart and the Carl's Jr. and they thrive on minimum wage.
Right.
And while, again, that's a conversation bigger than us, we're trying to keep this in Woodland.
Absolutely.
If we want people to do those jobs, those people are going to need affordable places to live.
Right.
And the only thing we can do is build housing for them.
Right.
And it ties this weirdly.
But then now you're opening up a Pandora's box, because it's not the only thing we can do.
Yeah.
We can go out and look for those bigger businesses to come in, bigger industry to come in that pays more of a
Skilled trades.
Skilled
Yeah.
trade. Personally, I would love to get Tracy Coleman and I had a conversation, and we're right there on this. I would love to see a trade school here in Woodland.
Oh, that would be good.
Would that be wonderful, or what?
That would be, because you know what probably is a trade is millwright, which is the lumber industry,
Right.
which is the logging industry, and so does CDLs. Back to the logging,
Right.
Heavy equipment operation.
There is a place down on the Austin Point, down the Woodland Bottoms, that do CDLs. They do heavy equipment, crane operator, and stuff like that. So for
young people, go get a good job.
Yeah.
We need them.
Yes,
For the love of God, we need them. This is true. I know that.
But yeah, there's, like I said, I've learned so much, and like a point I made before, how much growth I've had since being on the council. It's made me not so tunnel vision. I got to look at the bigger picture, and there's more ways to look at things than just what's face value.
On the bigger picture, this is a weird circle because it all ties back in, right? You build the big dense apartment complex, you bring in all these people. Well, they're going to buy cars and drive them.
Right.
And on our roads,
right.
in our intersections, which are bad.
Absolutely, amen.
we got to make the intersections good.
But
and that's a state thing.
But in that circle, though, even like with the streets,
yeah.
In that circle, if we don't have the people,
right,
if we don't have them doing business in the city, we can't collect money to fix the streets. It is a vicious circle.
We just got to stay on top of it, know
right.
what's going on.
Right.
Well, so if we want to exit 21, the lesson here is not to come to city council and yell at you guys, because you are also wanting that. The lesson here is to
we want it.
Email Rep Ed Orcutt, who's our representative in Olympia. I met him.
Right.
And yell at him about it.
Not
Say,
only
where's
him,
Woodland's
not only
exit?
him, but everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Call Joe Biden. I mean, he won't pick up the phone, but I know there's a number.
Let's just keep it to Olympia. But any number you can give for any representative in Olympia.
Here's what I'll do.
Call them.
We
need help.
I have this info, and it is good. On the screen right now, you will see the numbers and contacts for your reps.
Right on.
The people who you vote for that represent us in Olympia. And like your governor, your state senator, all that. Call them and yell at them about it.
How about this?
Or politely request it.
How about we catch more flies with sugar than honey?
Well, I figure what we'll do is we'll mix it up. Like
right.
every time you're mad at Aaron here about the
there you go.
Every time you're mad about the exit, call somebody here and get mad at them. Or be like, hey, why is my exit bad? I was told it was directly your fault. And if that happens like 1,000 times, well, he'll do something about it because he doesn't want those emails either.
Right. But the big thing, though, is call them and let them know you're concerned.
Be engaged.
The more people that are engaged, involved, and the more squeaky wheels we can get,
the more grease
we may get that we're praying for. Because we need the city of Woodland needs 21 fixed.
Yes.
Simple as that. And that's, like I said earlier, that is one thing that everybody can agree on.
That's a fucking great way to end a goddamn podcast. I had to swear because I'm doing that. That's a strong feeling.
There you go.
In my house, I don't teach my son that swearing's bad, but I teach him that there are strong words.
Right.
And they should use them when they have a strong feeling. But I also teach him a lot of words, so he's not flinging around F-bombs. At least not at me. All right. I think this is a good way to set up. You have parting words. You have a website I can push people to?
I do have some parting words.
Sure.
If there's anything I could ask of the people of Woodland, get involved and get informed, because there's so many assumptions that fly around out there that aren't true. So just please, if you don't want to come to meetings, you don't have the capabilities to go to the meetings, there's Zoom, there's YouTube, or ask questions. But get informed of the real things that are happening, not what you hear.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
It was fun.
All right.